My sacrifice. Hello, my friend, we meet again. It's been a while, where should we begin? No cry fagging in the casino. One man saying that is fine. If that's your opinion and you're not in it, that's fine. But there is an entire market of millions and millions of people that agree that it is a store of value. So, you can think one thing, but there's also a market, and markets tend to become efficient over time.
We do know that you will always get paid in Hex on a daily basis. And that is truly the miracle that we call Hex, because it is trustless interest, trustless yield. Nothing will stop that contract from running.
My sacrifice. Welcome in, everybody, to the Creed of Crypto. My name is Big Boy Crypto. I have here with me, as always, my friend and co-host, Crypto Ewok. We've got a whole bunch of you already in the chat tonight. So welcome in Hex Girl, Freeman, Hammy228. Checks my pulse, of course. I saw Tam in there already. Hello to you. Valiant Low Key, Brizology coming back. We got Brownie's Midlife Adventure, DJ Moonboy, Kinsai Hexakin, and more pouring in now too. So I appreciate you guys being here. Hit the like to help support Pulse Chain and the channel. If you enjoy Pulse Chain content, do us a favor, subscribe to the channel as well. We appreciate all of you being here. We do this every Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But yes, as you see in the thumbnail, he did it again. That's right. We've got another. When we first were creating this stream, we were just talking about the fact that ProveX, Mr. Proof, whatever it's called, was the new invention, apparently by Richard Hart. And now we actually have the sacrifice phase just open as of not even 24 hours ago. And a lot of people have been discussing it, talking about it from all angles over the last day. We're going to do our best to do that here tonight and give you our insights to all of it. And cover the crypto space as well, as everybody's also losing their mind, thinking that we're going to a bear market or a bull market or who knows what's going on. So we'll talk about that never-ending tale as well. But Ewok, how are you doing on this kind of cold Wednesday evening?
Doing well. I'm excited. Actually, this whole thing just leads into what I think is going to be very, very bullish for many reasons. So I'm excited to talk about it and get my mind off of real life for a hot minute and get into some crypto stuff.
I am with you. Yes, I think there's a lot of excitement no matter what. It's interesting to me. I mean, we're going to get to this, but like the kind of people or the people that are taking the announcement of this sacrifice phase and the subsequent drop in the ecosystem prices last night as hard as they are, I thought it was a little bit curious, honestly, to me, just based on things we've seen in the past. They're honestly kind of similar to this, but we'll get into that. Let's first just attack what is going on in the market. We've been talking about this every week for, years, obviously, but Bitcoin, Ethereum. We'll see where they are right now. Obviously, mainstream crypto Twitter is going crazy, arguing about, comparing this fractal to that fractal and what's a 4-year cycle, what's an extended cycle, 2020, 26, all these different things. Nobody really knows what's going on. One thing that we can say is that the entirety of this cycle has really been under a quantitative tightening environment from macroeconomics. We are seeing that lifted starting December the 1st. The Fed will no longer be in a quantitative tightening status. And starting in September of this year, we saw the rate cuts from the Fed in the United States. We saw it again in October. We figure there will be another one in December, although Jerome Powell, of course, has thrown cold water on that. What else? I mean, we've had 40 some at least $1 billion already printed and injected into the banks here in the United States. We're seeing money printing. And a new stimmy check is on the way. So, I mean, a huge catalyst in the last cycle, whenever there was a certain disease that some people took more seriously than others, a few years back, there was a lot of stimulation going on in terms of money being printed. That was a huge catalyst for last bull market. This is a definitive one. I mean, this isn't like a, political talking point. It sounds like Trump, like that we definitely are going to see $2,000 stimulus checks to the homes of every American earning less than $100,000 a year, I think it is. So definitely another injection of cash we have coming. I didn't mean to get into all that necessarily now, but just in terms of where we are with Bitcoin and Ethereum, very weird, unique cycle. It is different this time. It's pretty much factual in terms of how Ethereum and altcoins have compared against Bitcoin. We've only seen Bitcoin run. Ethereum has never even done more than hit its all-time high for about 2 hours on a Sunday a couple months back. So, yeah, I ask you, Ewok, where we are at right now, what you think is going to happen. It's mid-November. I don't think anybody would have thought this, but, yeah, we have Bitcoin at just under 102K right now. It had a pretty big red candle today. ETH at 3,400. You heard me right, 3,400. Its high remains at about 4,900. And, yeah, where do we go from here? There's, 6 to 7 weeks left in 2025, and I think it's safe to say this year is probably not going to be what most people thought. But that doesn't mean that life is over. So, yeah, what do you make of this, Ewok?
Well, I mean, so I'm on ETH now, and there is somewhat of an upward trend. I don't know if you can spot it here in the chart in the last week or so. The lows have been getting higher. Yes, there was a pullback today, and it did go a little bit lower than what it was yesterday. But it has retraced yet. The day's not quite over yet. It could end up finishing a little bit higher. And it's done that the last several days. It dips and then it pulls back and it goes up and it goes up a little bit more each day. I think that's bullish. I think there's bullish sentiment out there. The interesting thing that I heard as well is there were even more liquidations. The longs are just getting annihilated everywhere you look, and especially on Bitcoin. Some of these candles have taken out another $100-200 million worth of longs. So eventually, those people that keep placing their leverage longs are going to run out of money. And at that point, that's when you look for the springboard action. I do want to show this chart, and I know people have shared it before, but it's been a while since we've taken a look at it, and I don't know. Can you see it okay here, or?
Yeah, I would. Yeah, there you go. That's decent.
So it's interesting when you look at this. This is back in the, I don't even know when this was written. I think 1875. It says. Down here, I don't think it was then because they weren't really talking about money at that point. But you look here at this mid-range. 2019 was very, very good leading into 2020. Here is another one though is impressive, or not impressive, but just interesting that it says 2026 is a off peak, but it's a high here in 2026. Now, we've also got the 369 formation going here as well, which I found interesting. you know,
Yeah.
again, there's something to be said here when and these predictions have become pretty close to being accurate. 2008, there was a very big downturn here in the markets as well. So it's just the way things have played out. I find it interesting. And I wanted to share this again that it does say 2026 is a high point for this mid cycle. It says years of good times, high prices, time to sell stocks and values of all kinds. So,
Hmm.
y- you know, I just wanted to bring this back, into view here. So, all right, let's go
It is
back to the
interesting.
chart. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, I was going to say real quick in terms of the recent BTC chart, I texted you guys the other night. We see basically weekly, I mean, constant manipulation, obviously, more
Oh,
manipulation
sure,
probably
sure.
with this market than we've ever seen because of all the institutions that are in it. But you can predict these things almost as clear as day. We saw Bitcoin rally all day Sunday when it was just by the skin of its teeth, it made and closed above the weekly 50 simple moving average, which, has just continuously happened where it figures, oh boy, if we close below here, and then it rallies all day Sunday. And even Ben Cohen was posting all surprisingly like, and look at that, Bitcoin beats it. It's like, yeah, of course. Like, I mean, people are messing with this stuff. I mean, I think it's very clear that that's what's been happening. So we, maintain that bull market structure. And then here we are yet again, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, all that sells off back down here at 101. Might as well go to 98 again or something. I'm sure that'll probably happen by the end of this week, if not lower. And if it does, I mean, I don't know where we could close in the week, but I mean, to me, this is just a continuation of this long, middling slog that is shaking out tons of people. And in a weird way, I mean, maybe we're gaslighting ourselves, but if you're an altcoin holder, which you're watching this, so you are, or Ethereum or anything other than Bitcoin, essentially, the game plan is I can't. What am I going to do? Like, what are you going to do? Like, are you going to lock in a losing trade? Something that RH just talked about the other day that we'll get into. But are you going to lock in a losing trade that's been losing for years? And buy the top of Bitcoin, not the top, but you know what I mean? Like buy Bitcoin when it's high, go buy gold when it's high, go buy stocks right now. Why would you rotate out of crypto to buy something that historically performs worse, and buy it at this moment? And I understand it always feels like taking some sort of action is what is needed in a time like this. And it is so hard to sit on your hands because it feels like I'm doing nothing. I've got to do something.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, and
when
I agree with that. I agree with that. The time to do something is now, and the time to take risks is now when things are low. I mean, unless you've already made it and you're looking to be a little more conservative, where you would back out of it and put, stuff into more indexes and just get your percentage of return that you are comfortable with. For most people that are here, we're all fairly new, and not a ton of wealth. So this is where you make or break, for the cycle to happen. So, in my opinion, this is when you do something. You don't really want to sit on your hands unless you're tempted to sell. Now is not the time to sell. Now is the time to accumulate more as we touch some of these bottoms again. And you see some of these big sell-offs, people doing stupid things, in my opinion, to rotate at this point. You don't want to rotate at the lows. So
that was more
anyway,
my point. Yeah, the people that are they are capitulation minded. It's best to sit on your hands or find something better to do. But yeah, absolutely. I mean, like that's the thing. Like it is human nature and survival instinct when this stuff is happening to sell out of the position and go buy the thing that's doing okay. You've what we've been doing for 4 years is aggressively buying all of these prices and all these lows. And I don't think a lot of people would have thought Pulse Chain and a lot of other altcoins would be like, Pulse Chain's only a couple of years old, but like near the all-time low in mid-November of 2025,
right.
But that's the environment we're in. And, a lot of people will think the big story tonight is going to be, ProveX, and we're going to talk about that and everything, obviously. The big story is what we're talking about right now. And that is that the macroeconomic situation has not totally shifted yet. Ethereum's still not made a new all-time high. It's still the same shit house that we've been living in. And say all you want about what Richard should and shouldn't have done and like this and that about Pulse Chain. Most people are wrecked in whatever it is they're in. You know, like Brown, conservative capitalist brought up Zcash in the chat. Like we've seen Ripple have a little run once this cycle. Zcash, you know, Solana had a good time in 2024. There, you know, but for the most part, I mean, risk on assets have not done well. So if you have any thoughts on that, but I really wanted to kind of end off Bitcoin and Ethereum with like just time wise, what do you think here, Ewok? I mean, you know, because it's basically 2026 or bust at this point. And by bust, I guess I just mean waiting even longer. But, you know, we're at the point where we have non-believers out of anything, you know, that's risk on assets. We have all these good things coming macroeconomic wise right now. You have guys like Tom Lee, who's just got balls the size of, I don't know, you know, just out there giving awesome interviews on these old school legacy finance shows all the time, talking about Ethereum to, I mean, he keeps moving it back because it keeps underperforming, but like to 12K by the new year or something like that. Yeah, I don't know. What do you make about a timeline here and where we can go in this cycle at this point?
Yeah, I mean, I'm still sticking to the things that are gonna definitely pick up by the end of the year. You know, we have so many bullish things that are coming down the pike. You've got the stimulus checks. If people do get $2,000, I remember in 2020 what happened when people started getting those checks and where the money went. You've got the quantitative easing starting or whatever, ending just beginning of December. So that's bullish. The rates are going to come down yet again, most likely. Things are just kind of setting in motion. Or about to be set in motion for some very, very bullish times. So yes, the end of the year is going to be good. I think it will trail into, you know, January, February at least. Again, I don't know that it's going to go too much past March, first quarter. I really don't. Again, when things run and when they go crazy and retail does get here, it doesn't take long for that blow off top to hit. So, you know, you're still looking at a 8-week cycle or an 8-week period of time where things can just go absolutely parabolic and then have a blow off top. So, you know, I still don't see it going into late 2026. I really don't. I see it, you know, first quarter, maybe trail into April a little bit, but you know, April has been historically bad because of taxes. People take profits just to, you know, settle tax stuff and pay taxes off or do whatever. April is historically a bad month. So I do see it at the very, very latest trailing into there. And that's probably about it. But again, we've got to get started before we can finish. We keep talking about when's it going to be over? Well, when's it going to start? So that's truly the important part. I do see some very bullish things happening though here lining up for the end of the year.
One thing for certain there is everybody is probably going to think that April will be a bad month because that's just the narrative that's out there, obviously. So there is that to think about. But I do agree with you that, like, yeah, the only scenario I think I'd be shocked by at this point, I'd be pretty shocked if the cycle were just ending. I will say shocked and obviously not happy. I'd also be shocked, if it did run like a whole calendar year from now. Like if basically the goalposts were moved one full calendar year, I think I would be kind of surprised by that. But I could see like even, you know, mid next year before things start to descent or something. So yeah, that makes sense. You said something else I was going to talk about and I don't remember what it was now. So yeah, we'll just have to, we're still just waiting. I mean, it's not always fun to talk about, but this is the environment we're in. And again, with other altcoins and stuff like that, or anything, you can criticize the people that are behind some of them, and some of them deserve it. But in the environment that we're in right now, it's just been very hard for this stuff to run yet. So
you might have been thinking about that when I said about the stimulus checks and how they poured into the market in 2020. So
well, yeah, and I don't know if there's been a timeline set for this yet. We also didn't mention that the government shutdown. Is it officially ending? I know the Senate.
They were voting on it today. I didn't hear. I think it was at 4 o'clock Eastern. is when the vote was supposed to start. I don't know how. Usually, probably to get that many people together, it probably takes a couple hours.
So those of you that are not U.S. citizens, surprised that U.S. citizens don't even know if our government is shut down or not. That just kind of tells you how useless they are. But I also don't think I even knew that there was a government shutdown until 2 weeks into it taking place. So, but I'm sure there's some people out there that rely upon it, obviously, and we're not happy. But anyway, it seems like it's coming to an end. Obviously, we figured that was going to happen eventually. I think whenever you've got a guy like Trump in office, there's always going to be people with dissent, and they want to, like there are these statistics that the government shutdowns under Trump have been the longest ones ever. Well, everybody hates Trump, and they're going to fight, obviously.
Yeah.
So yeah, you've got that. I don't know what the timeline is for these stimmy checks to be printed and sent out, but I think it's going to be within the next 6 months. So yeah, I mean, all this stuff is basically going to coincide. I think we have a window that started in September of this year that is going well into 2026, like at least halfway through, where we are having a better macroeconomic environment. Will that positively impact our altcoins? That's basically what we're waiting for at this point. So yeah.
Heck yeah.
Anything else you got on that, Ewok?
Nope.
Okay.
No good.
Let's go over first just to the Pulse Chain prices, and then we'll get to why they're at what they're at in the short term here. So I did originally have, basically that we were consolidating against our historic kind of low from August of 2023. Now we've come down below that since almost 24 hours ago to another level of support down into this 4024 area for Pulse, which is where it's pretty much hanging out right now. It did wick down to like even 2. It did not. I mean, anything's possible somewhere, but I don't believe that it ever hit the all-time low anywhere that I saw last night, even for a split second. We've got Pulse X at 401585. We have Hex at 00564. We have Ink at $1.02. It was like 80 cents at one point I saw last night. Excuse me. We have EHEX at 00139, and just for Ewok, we have PDI at 001754. So that's where we're at right now. We'll get into the reasoning of this short-term price action, but just kind of structurally looking at it, Ewok, at Pulse. If we look at that chart, we know the all-time low was 4016 or 17. Again, I know it went down to at least even 2 last night. We've bounced up off of there, pretty resiliently, pretty quickly. There was a lot of, which we'll get to this, but there was a lot of ugly sentiment out there. Posts being deleted out of embarrassment, thankfully, by people after the wicks down last night of the sacrifice announcement. I saw somebody on Twitter today say like, hey, it's screenshot season. If you know, like just screenshotting some of the reactions that the things that people do and the things that they say and act like in times of trouble, So, yeah. Anyway, DJ Moonboy, thank you.
Yep. Yeah. So looking at this chart, you were right. It did not get down to the 2.0 level, or even the all-time low was back in April, I believe, here at 5016, I believe, or 4016. Unless it was lower. No, that's it. Yeah. So
that's it.
Yeah, we hit just above. So 402041 was about where I'm seeing the low. And yeah, rebounded nicely. I do believe there were people that were interested in buying at these levels rather than sacrificing. So that is a positive sign. And yeah, so it's come the whole way back up to, well, not the whole way, but up to the 402474 now. It even started, or at one point it was up to 4028. So yeah, that candle was quite extensive here as far as the high and the low. It encompassed a lot of territory here very, very quickly. So ate through some sells, and then the buyback happened rather quickly. I was impressed about how quickly this retraced. So
yeah,
very bullish with that, I think.
I think so too. But if you even zoom out further and just look at the all-time chart here, you can. I know you're on the daily, but if you look at that or the weekly, I mean, yeah, I mean, there's really nothing. Doesn't really look like anything happened. You know what I mean? I mean, yeah, intraday it makes you emotional and stuff, but look at that. I mean, it's not really anything that catastrophic. You know, when you zoom out and look at it like this.
No, and honestly, if you do zoom out to the weekly, it's not as bad looking. I mean, we've stair stepped up, made a higher low, stair stepped up, made a higher low. Even though this low came down, I believe it wicked a double bottom here, from back in June at least,
Mm-hmm.
and held at that spot. So, you know, uh, again, it's not the greatest looking chart by any means. I'm not going to sugarcoat it at all. But zooming out this far, since March, it has done a stair step of sorts and made some higher lows at least. So that is good.
Yeah. Yeah, really. I mean, you look at the damage that was done on some of the tokens just in the short term. I mean, this whole thing, and I guess we'll talk about it in this regard here since we're talking more about charts, but this event and where the ecosystem went to me was extremely reminiscent of when Pump Tires launched. If you remember
Yeah.
that, it was a weekend night, I remember. And this is very similar to what happened. Essentially the ecosystem over the hours went down like 30% like this, and then slowly started to come out of it and retrace. It's just that initial sell pressure, that initial reaction by people,
Yep.
So yeah, structurally, I mean, everything is still there, and not to beat a dead horse, but I mean, we're still just looking to the macro situation to continue improving for Ethereum to start going up. I mean, I know it's a meme almost now, like, oh, pulse chain leverage on Ethereum and all this stuff. But everything everything below Ethereum is leverage on Ethereum in some way, just to varying degrees, and we still have not seen it move. So
Right.
it's yeah.
Yep.
And I mean, maybe you could argue that our ecosystem is more, I don't want to say like reliable, but could stand to benefit more because of the Ethereum stack that we've had, that we have no idea if we still do have, and it's nowhere to be found. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, do you have any other chart thoughts on any of the main tokens?
Well, no, not really. Again, they all look very similar, I think, because they're tied so closely together. So
Yeah.
the bonding, the liquidity bonding has definitely, when you have a major sell off and people are at this point very frustrated, and being a little rebellious, I think at this point too, um, you know, where people wanted to get out into stable coins and do something else with their money, it's going to hurt them all. And I do fully believe this was kind of for a reason. Let's shake out the weekends that don't believe, um, and get it into some stronger hands. Like I said, there's clearly support there that defended at least a price, or a range anyway. And again, I think a lot of people decided to buy the dip rather than to sacrifice. So
Yeah.
is what I think happened, and I do believe that was probably the right call.
Yeah.
If you don't have the ability to take some profit on an illiquid coin at this point that isn't really matured, I think that was probably the right thing to do.
I totally agree. I think it's pretty simple, really. I mean, like when you saw, obviously everybody was flooding to the exit gates to do one thing, just do the opposite. Just either hold and take no action at all, or if you, I mean, when people are like, "All right, I have all this dry powder," I'm like, "Why do you have dry powder, or how do you have it?" You know what I mean?
Right?
Like, because there's going to be one of these times where these people, if they're even legit, like posting like, "Oh, I aped into it with all my dry powder," are going to be pissed that they have dry powder still. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just sitting here, waiting for the intervals to come into DCA basically. But I guess you can make an argument for always having dry powder, but what are you going to
Mm.
do? All right, so that's where we are as far as the charts. Now we'll get into the actual narrative of all this stuff. So if you guys are enjoying the stream so far, Do us a favor. We do this every week, every Wednesday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Subscribe to the channel if you enjoy Pulse Chain content. Even if you don't give a shit about us or really want to watch us every single week and you support Pulse Chain, it sends that positive message out to the world that you care about this network and Richard Hart's creations and stuff. So we appreciate that. Hit the like button. We appreciate all of you being here tonight. So in terms of ProveX, and we were going to just cover this from the very beginning of the announcement, which happened last, Thursday or Friday, I believe. And I'll see what we can retread from that. But of course, now that we've actually got this sacrifice phase here, we've got updates. So it was last Thursday. Richard talked about new project might be launching in the next 24 hours. Be ready. And at first, this thing was Mr. Proof. So I think we should just lead this off with looking at his original post about that when he first Friday night. And I did send you this one. I know I've sent you like 20. But he had the post saying what Mr. Proof was, explaining it all. The very initial post, just kind of announcing the project, just so we can kind of glean information on what this is, because I think that some people are not, are kind of lost in the sacrifice details right now and not so much this. So real quick, you can go back down away from the girl gif here. There you go. So the Mr. Prove token, which we now know is not named that anymore. It's ProveX, which was interesting. Token only becomes more rare. It never inflates. It only burns. Mr. Prove, I'm just going to say ProveX is automatically bought and burnt every time someone uses private prover tech. The first industry ProveX is disrupting in cryptocurrency exchanges. Crypto was invented to remove middlemen. Exchanges are just middlemen that get between a buyer's bank account and a seller's crypto wallet. ProveX replaces the exchanges using private prover tech. Buyers and sellers install a browser extension which issues proofs. Buyers prove they paid the seller from their bank or fintech. Sellers prove they sent the coins to the buyer's wallet. Sellers get money. Buyers get coins. Goodbye middlemen. Hello to coin burning. This goes on way too long, I know, but basically the fees are going to be less. The token burns. Here's short-term, mid-term, long-term goals I know he gets into. If you go down towards the bottom here, I think you might have posted a TLDR because I'm not going to read all this. So he says blockchains solved double spends with mining and validating. They on-ramp new users with coins. ProveX and private. This stuff is so hard to say. Private prover tech amplifies blockchain's utility by removing the middlemen that make crypto so hard. Then it can disrupt and disintermediate so many other industries. Every use of the protocol creating more and more scarcity. Buying and burning from the public market. ProveX, a token that can never inflate, only becomes more scarce. It amplifies the blockchain and transcends it. And then he goes on talking about there might be a sacrifice. Obviously, we're going to get into that because we know way more details about that now, have no expectations from the work of others, yada, yada, yada. So in terms of what this product is, and I know, we get some specifics there. The question that I posed to you the other day, and obviously a lot of people have been talking about ZK P2P, which I think that its address is that .xyz, if I remember. But that was created back in 2023, which is essentially kind of what this sounds like, where, you can onboard into crypto from whatever. I don't think it's necessarily your bank account, but from like Zelle and all these other places, the Cash App, stuff like that. I believe it does have a separate extension where you prove the peer-to-peer move. And it sounds similar to that. I'm imagining there's, as far as I know, I don't think the ZK P2P has like a token tied to it the way that ProveX would, that is deflationary. We know that RH likes the deflationary tokens, hence PulseX and things like that. But yeah, what do you make of this just in terms of a product, bringing it to market? Is this an example of Richard doing more of that horizontal scaling where I guess horizontal would be the right direction, where it's extending upon something that's already created? It's just going to be a more unique product, because it does sound like it mimics something that kind of already exists, but with the RH touch, if you will, that makes it a better version of that, which is what he is usually doing.
Yeah, and I do believe this is going to be able to be used with real world assets as well. So, not just blockchain, but yes, tied to bank accounts, tied to to different things. I do believe, you know, the big thing that we've kind of learned along the way is Richard is usually a little bit further ahead of the rest of the market with some of these ideas, and his timing, you know, is early. He does like to be the first one doing things. Remember with the you know, the logins and the sites, and having the software be able to download and run it from your own computer, you
Mhm.
know, way early. People were like, whoa, what are all these buttons? Why do I have to click this extra button to do the, you know? um and then you realize that bad things happen, and man, it would be so much better to just run it from your own from your own computer, without having to worry about a website going down, or a front end not working, or a front end getting hacked. Lord forbid it gets hacked, and it be a wallet drainers installed into there. So things like that. He's usually pretty far ahead of the rest of the pack. So I do believe this will have some major um, implications to real world stuff. You know, moving forward, and I can only imagine the creative minds out there that'll be building on top of it. So that should be fun to watch as well. Um, Again, we also know that he loves to burn coins. Unfortunately, if burning coins worked so well, I think PulseX price would be up. You know,
Yeah.
it takes a while for coin burning to, you know, really have an effect. And you go 2 or 3 years and be like, holy shit, you know, 10% of the supply is gone. And that type of thing will trigger then more of a rush. You know, it doesn't happen immediately. It does take time for that coin burning, and the people to realize how much of the supply is now gone.
Mhm.
Um, so, you know, it's not an immediate thing. That's just, you know, my thoughts on coin burning. It is a great deflationary type thing, but when you have billions or trillions of tokens, depending on how many there are, you know, it takes a while. It takes a while to catch up, and for a majority of the supply to be gone forever. So there is that.
I think you do make a good point with that, where although the deflationary thing is cool and definitely preferred, it isn't like on its own gonna do anything. You know what I mean? Like it, the whatever it's tied to obviously you have to have people. Like there has to be a market, obviously, which I mean, we believe that Richard's, a pretty damn good marketer, even though people are doubting him right now because of the current conditions of economics and things like that. But
Sure.
yeah, I think you do make a good point. I mean, just having a feather in your cap that it's deflationary is not quite enough, obviously, but
Not
it's
by itself.
what the creation is, how you're advertising it, and things like that. I wanted to ask you too, and this is actually interestingly tying into another topic I had for us before all this interesting stuff happened. But over the last couple weeks, we've seen some random altcoins that have been in like an 8-year bear market, basically, like Zcash and other privacy coins starting to pump like insane, like doing X's upon X's seemingly out of nowhere here, like some people calling them dino coins because they're a couple cycles old at this point. Nobody even knows what they are anymore. But the theme, though, of like some privacy coins, Zcash being one of them, and just seeing these pumps, like the kind of sign that it is maybe for the market that we hopefully could see some sort of alt season around the corner. But also, could that become more of a narrative, like the privacy thing, and is Richard trying to get in front of that with having a product like this? I think he obviously already was thinking of this and had it in the can for a long time. Like, I'm sure this wasn't something that just he thought of yesterday. But I saw somebody pose that question to him today. Like, is this kind of your effort to get in front of that, the privacy narrative here? And Richard actually says, I mean, nothing about this is really about privacy, though, in response to the guy. So I don't know. What do you make of that, though? Because, while it is a product that he likes, is interested in, and I think he's trying to get in front of some like legislature about this stuff here in a couple of years, how much do you think it also is just narrative driven stuff that people may be craving in this market right now too?
Well, I think again, he is ahead of the curve. So I think he's trying to come up with things that people do need, people do want, but they don't realize they want it quite yet. This I did pull up the chart for Zcash just for looking
Shits
at
and
it here,
gigs.
just
Yeah.
for shits and gigs, and it did go from back here August, all the way up to the top, which was yeah, about 2000%. So it did a 208x since there. I mean, obviously it's pulled back a little bit now, but it was all the way up to $752. So yeah, again, I think people, the more they get tired of middlemen taking their money, I'm surprised there hasn't been more of a pushback with taxes and things like that. People are just so happy to hand over their money every time you get paid, and then every time you spend your money, you're getting taxed again, and every time you do anything, or when you die, it's like,
Yeah.
when does it end, right? So the middlemen have been taking way too much for way too long. Now the problem is this really does paint a bigger target on your back. Some of these institutions do not like their money being messed with, and um, one of my fears is that the more middlemen that you try to remove, the more the middlemen are going to try to remove you. That's my biggest fear for this whole thing. So it is a bit worrisome. But I think the people have to really start to want it. Valiant Loki said it right here. We own nothing, and that's how the government can keep you poor, can keep you middle class, to make sure that you don't own things and you don't gain wealth. You've got to be kept at a certain level, and make it so hard to get ahead. And again, that's why we're here in crypto. We want to get ahead. We want to get ahead of the curve, at least to get into a next tax bracket or two. Anyway, if we're going to have to pay it, you might as well make a little bit more out of it. So
Yeah. Yeah. But in terms of the product, though, I mean, I think it's something that is needed. I think I think he's obviously filling a gap in the market with something like this. And also, you made a great point right there too. I heard some people. There was a pretty good space before it devolved into a Twitter space today that Buck from Fame and Fiat and stuff was hosting. That eventually devolved into a couple of guys like throwing F-bomb names at each other. I think the probability that Twitter spaces involving crypto get to that kind of conversation, like just the probability gets down to 1 eventually, because every Twitter space I ever go into about crypto, like you tap on, it's just, fuck you, bro. Hey, no, you shut the fuck up. Like at some point, that's just what it devolves into. But for most of that space, though, it was fun. And they discussed what you just said about how him doing this, like, are you adding a target to your back again? You know what I mean? Like the guy, for all the people that are like, oh, he's taking his money. There's a dude in the chat just a little bit ago. He's taking his money and he's kicking his feet up and he's going off into the sunset, blah, 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 like all this shit. Why would he be doing this? You know what I mean? We've talked about it with the other arguments before. Why did he hire Elon Musk and Donald Trump attorneys, 11 of them, to beat the SEC in court? I mean,
yeah,
like, I can't even imagine what those fees were. You know what I mean? And then to do
millions,
this,
millions,
right? So what?
tens
Just
of millions.
and just how bullish is that fact? I mean, we'll get into the actual sacrifice element of this in a minute here, but just the fact that, like, okay, prices are down, everything sucks. It's so much less to do with Richard Hart and your dislike of the man compared to macroeconomics and what Ethereum's been at this cycle. I mean, I know we keep saying it, but that's also because other people don't seem to understand it.
Yeah.
But what does it say that, like, how bullish do you have a founder that could easily have run away? Easily. I mean, most people would imagine that he would, or think that he would under these circumstances, and he's fought back harder than ever, and now he has this.
Yep. Well, I think he wants to prove himself. I mean, he still does not get enough credit. He's still labeled a scammer by many, many people. Um, he wants that glory. And he wants to be the best founder ever, crypto founder. I don't have any doubt that that's why he's still doing this. Yes, he could have, he didn't even have to build Hex. He retired a long time ago. He's probably still got enough money to just live very comfortably, and not have to worry about always looking over his shoulder, or who's coming after him, or being labeled, any kind of scammer or whatever it may be. He's continuing to build, and like it or not, like his methodology of it, with the sacrifices, and I think it's all going to pay off. I still think it will all pay off for everybody, eventually. We just don't know the future, right? We don't know what the future holds. We to say that right now, is tough. But again, I think there are going to be some very, very upset people, that look back and say, "Man, I should have never sold that bottom," or I should have stuck with it a little bit longer if I had only held. That's the famous last words of even the Bitcoiners that sold at $8 when it got to $8, and you see all those flashbacks of the different quotes that people made. Man, I wish I would have held, instead of selling at this price or whatever it was, and now it's hundreds of thousands of times more expensive now than it was then. So yeah. I think it's all about the glory. I think it's about wanting to be the best founder, the best creator, the best person in crypto. It's going to take him a long time. Again, the people will gatekeep, I think, forever. But eventually people will get in, and the ones that have gotten in will make ridiculous amounts of money. He wants to make the world a better place by making people wealthy, so that they can contribute back. So,
yeah, I'm with you. I think it's bullish that he's even creating it, honestly, at this point. So, good stuff. Let's turn our attention to the actual sacrifice phase of this, because this is what I don't think anybody expected, that this would, in another day or two, basically come out. Where last night I was getting warm and cozy, getting ready to go to sleep, watching some trash TV to wind down for the night. And then Richard had to ruin it all with the contract address that you would, not contract address, but the address that you would send sacrifice to for ProveX if you actually want to sacrifice for this thing. So just to set this up real quick, if we go back in time to a whole 48 hours ago, most people were speculating, I imagine what he'll do is he'll only be accepting the core Pulse chain tokens for it, because that will put buy pressure on the price of the tokens. It helped whenever he did it for the sacrifices for Pulse and Pulse X, obviously, a few years ago. That was literally the complete opposite market condition. I mean, you said to me off the air earlier, you had a bunch of people that were like paper millionaires that were more than willing to completely overextend themselves and sacrifice way too much, which it's kind of a catch-22. Whenever there's like a large sacrifice pool, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy where like the chart can't do well right out of the gate because too many of you got in, basically. So that is obviously what we've just lived through and are living through over the last few years here. Obviously, we have the opportunity right now to buy 80% lower than anybody sacrificed for. But for Pulse and Pulse X, now the interesting thing is we're on the other end of this. This is why so many people, I think, were astonished that he would actually launch another sacrifice. I mean, just the fact that there is one, the audacity of this man to do this again, all of the comments about it. And here we are doing it at the bottom of the market when people certainly don't have anywhere near the capital to do it. And then, to everybody's dismay, which we're going to get to here, the only things really not accepted are the core Pulse chain tokens. So a lot of interesting things here where this is purposefully set up with every detail knowing it would piss off people. So I think there's method to the madness here, or I'm just insane and I'm coping, whatever. But let's read this post. So Richard said, this just went live on ProveX.info. Keep in mind, there was no logo for this thing and there was no name for this thing. This all came together in a matter of days. Shill Gates won the ProveX logo giveaway after Googling an AI generated X image that Richard just picked and changed the color to. And after Shill Gates, I'm not going to say anything about anybody, but so this just went live. There's the address to send it to. He says, you are sacrificing your coins to make a political statement. You believe in capitalism, the removal of middlemen, and replacing trust with proof. You are sacrificing your coins to prove you are serious about this belief. You have no expectation of profit from the work of others. We've seen this before. You understand that what you sacrifice can be sold and you will receive no benefit from it. He says this is where the eyes started to pop out. Bitcoin, Ethereum, USDT, Solana, XRP, TRX, Tron, Doge, ADA, a bunch of other stuff, all accepted many coins from many other chains. And then he says, underline, no sacrifices will be credited from the Pulse chain network for anything. Now, this has already changed a bit, but he says no Pulse, no Pulse X, no Inc, no Hex, no eHex will be credited from any network. A whole lot of people are going to post angrily. Clearly he knows this, that what they wanted to sacrifice, they're not allowed to. It's okay. The rate increases quickly and the sacrifice is over quickly. This maximizes fairness across all networks. The max bonus is 3x, which is actually higher than the Pulse or Pulse X, which people thought he would not do again, and he did. There is a leaderboard, he says. Rate increases start in about 21 days. What might be airdropped for free to those addresses noticed, proving their belief in this political statement. What other tokens should be added and what networks, he says, and gives screenshots of the website. If you guys want to go to the website, it is simply ProveX. What is it again? I forget.
Info.
Yeah,
ProveX.info. Yep.
And we can bring that up in a moment. You don't have to now, Ewok, but yeah, you can track how much has been sacrificed. And we can just tell you right now, about 24 hours out, it's at about $800,000. So we're pushing. We'll probably be at $1 million by tomorrow, I imagine. Just to put this in perspective, I was watching Crypto Coffee earlier, and I don't know if my ears deceived me, but I think he said that there was $200 million within a single day for the Pulse sacrifice, whenever it started. Is that okay?
Yes.
$200 million. So 200x more money in the Pulse sack within the same amount of time frame than we've got in this ProveX sacrifice right now. Okay, so let's break this down because this is going to take us a while, I think. But first off, what do you make of just the fact that he's even doing another sacrifice, the fact that it's this stage of the market, and that we are not having the Pulse tokens accepted? Basically just hit it from every angle. And the other thing I wanted to ask too, he mentioned a qualifier that he gave about, you're going to be upset that you can't sacrifice Pulse. He said that it's a short window. Is this not about the same window as the Pulse and Pulse X sacrifice time frame? Like I thought they were about this length. This is going to go until January.
It's longer, actually, because I remember with Pulse, was it Pulse or Pulse X? I forget. You only had 5 days to hit the max. You had the max amplifier, and then after that, it started to increase. It was only 5 days long, not 21. So this one is definitely going longer, than the Pulse, at least. It could have been Pulse or Pulse. I forget which one it was, but either way, it was only 5 days long that you had to get in at the max rate anyway. I don't know. I think that the timing of this is to allow people to gather some more capital. Again, times are different. Times are completely different. Then you had the market going up. You had a bunch of paper millionaires, which I had mentioned to you off air. And many people didn't hesitate to put 6 figures in, all over the place. And that caused a bit of a problem. And I think the timing of this is going to definitely change the dynamic of how many coins are out there. how many large holders get a lot of these tokens to just dump on your head? Not going to exist. I don't think so. I see this being very, very bullish. Also, the people that do want to get in, that only sacrificed, their RH coins, well, now they got to sell, and they got to sell at a major, major loss, which also can help the bullishness of everything because those coins are gone,
Yeah.
and apparently something or someone is out there buying up these dips. So who knows who that is? The whole tornado cash move just before all of this happened was a wise decision, I think,
Mhm.
because now no one knows who's buying up the dips. No one knows who's going to sacrifice for this. I do foresee something at the very end, those last several days, like before, um, a large chunk of money go in to get the majority of these tokens. Now there won't be a bonus, there won't be anything like that, but there will be, a large portion held by an entity at the end.
Yeah.
It's obvious it'll probably be dependent on, all right, how much do I want out there in circulation? How much do we want as the treasury type, not treasury, but the OA, let's call it the OA, um, and how much will exist. I don't know if there's been there's a lot of details that are left out, like how many tokens will exist, how many will be out there. I don't think that's known. I think it will really depend on how many sacrificers there are, and because of this whole dynamic, it leads me to believe that this could be a very, very different scenario now, because the people that are getting in are bringing fresh capital, or selling a large portion of the bags that they have now, at a huge loss. So
Mhm.
it's multifunctional. I think it takes care of a couple different problems all at the same time.
Yeah. Boy, there's just so many angles to look at this from. So the idea, we'll just talk about the main headliner, which is the idea to not accept Pulse tokens. So obviously it's 180 degrees from what everybody thought it was going to be. Um, it seems to me that Richard, I mean, I said this a minute ago, is doing everything possible to maximum piss off all the people that, I mean, I don't really care because, I mean, a lot of us weren't really interested in, and people are pretty turned off to sacrifices, as you can imagine, obviously. But even whales, like I saw, what's his name, Rackham, and whatever he posts, there's like a 2% chance it's what he actually believes, probably on Twitter. But first he was like, "Hey, count me in, ProveX," and then Richard announces this, and he says, "Sitting this one out. Good luck to y'all." And I'm just like, "Okay, yeah, whatever, dude." And now I just saw he's pumping up ProveX on Twitter earlier. But essentially everything, like, number one, even doing a sacrifice. Number two, excluding pulse tokens, which everybody figured would be what you would sacrifice. Number three, the multiplier being even larger than pulse and pulse X. Everything about it screams to me, not necessarily saying, and I missed one. The posts leading up to it, like the day or so before, maybe if you want to pull this one up, you can. But Richard talked about, a simple investment thing that pops up in my mind from time to time. I just don't ever sell anything for less than you bought it for, basically. We saw that he posted, there were screenshots. He had started to post a poll, or how do you like to rip off Band-Aids, like immediately or slowly, knowing that this was going to be, like, this announcement was going to be a huge sell-off to the ecosystem, and he knew it would be like ripping a Band-Aid off. Yeah, he said, "I remember someone shared an investing tip once in a chat room. They said, you know what my secret is? Just never sell at a loss. I very often think about that." I like, it was one time in a random chat room. But yeah, exactly. And he posts this a day before, literally like a calendar day before announcing the sacrifice. So to me, it seems not so subtly that he's telling, believers that are sitting here, your average pulse holder, to not do this, honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, okay. So earlier you kind of disagreed with
Well,
me, but
no,
you did.
to not do this, not sell at a loss.
Well, yeah, right.
That so not to not sacrifice. I don't
Okay.
think he's
Okay.
telling people. So that's the what I'm saying
Distinction.
different than yeah.
Right. Yeah. So, and the difference would be basically, hey, you get some dry powder from a paycheck or something like that, and want to throw in a few shekels, then okay. But I think also maybe to give what I said a little bit of credibility, and I know that the other sacrifices in the past, he always likes to talk about, passing the Howey test or failing it or whatever the hell you're supposed to do with that test. But the disclaimers on the website are pretty aggressive in what they say. I mean, I'm sure he probably expects no one to click on them, so there's that. But I mean, it's very explicit, like up it almost to the saying, like, we will rug you. Like, you could literally be rugged here, and it is your fault. I mean, he's basically, I don't know. It just seems like very explicitly saying, like, don't do this, basically.
Well,
I know he's covering his ass,
uh-huh.
obviously, and people are going to do it anyway. I just, it seems like there's a concerted effort. The way that this was thrown together, the posts leading up to it, there was no even name for the goddamn thing. It's a logo that just was Googled, just everything about it. And I think the product is going to be fine. Like, I don't think Richard Hart's going to bring a product to market that's a piece of shit. Maybe it won't have all of what it's going to be decked out with eventually, like we've seen with Pulse Chain. But I just think in terms of this sacrifice round, he isn't necessarily, pleading for everybody to throw their money in, I guess is what I'm saying. He is concerned, there's a concerted effort to reach out outside of our ecosystem. He's not accepting the core tokens. He's commenting on Brian Armstrong posts and Coinbase posts like, hey, did you see this? And stuff like that. Trying to spread the word. You have the sacrifice totals up on the screen right now. We're at 792K sacked. The number one sacker has given up $40,000. And the number two sack, I don't know why the USD amount is no longer showing, but I know it was 20K of Solana in the second spot.
I think what happened, and I saw a post from maybe Martin, storyteller,
Okay, yeah,
that had said something about they were able to fool the sacrifice into these scam Solana tokens, and they credited them for full amount. And this USD value has disappeared. So I don't know if this will change or not, or be completely invalidated, or what's going on with that whole scenario. But I did hear that the 37,000 or whatever it was at that point was a bad token. So that could be the reason the USD value is gone. And again, we'll see if these points change or what happens with them.
That is interesting. Yeah. So we will see that. But if we continue to see like Solana tokens coming in now, yeah, is it easy for a Pulse Chain whale just to sell a bridge to Solana, buy Solana? I mean, yeah, I guess so. But the point is, it is a bigger barrier to entry for Pulse Chain people to get in. You must sell the lows. I mean, we talked about this earlier too. I think that this is another effort to mark a low of the ecosystem. Like, he knew for a flaming fact that everybody was going to sell off, and that was going to happen last night. And that's probably why he deleted that Band-Aid post, because maybe he thought it was a little bit too on the nose. I'm not sure, but inevitably, it was just like the pump tires launch, very, very similar. That's why the people that were panicking last night, I was like, are you shitting me? Right? Like, we've seen this before. This isn't like some fundamental thing change. I don't know. I just, the people that were panicking, I couldn't understand it. It was so clearly, and I mean, I'm looking hindsight 2020, and maybe I'll still be wrong, but I mean, we saw it bounce right back up. Like, it was just a very short-term thing. I guess we're still down there a little bit, but yeah. Boy, I'm trying to think of what other direction to go with this. Yeah, looking at the time frame. So to clarify some things that Richard said, I sent you an awesome post by Hexo where he summarized the chart that you're essentially looking at right now, Ewok. It's a great post. So if you are interested in sacrificing for this, which you and I talked about it, I mean, I'm not staunchly against it, but frankly, I would treat it just like like the Pulse X sacrifice when I did it. It's not going to be an amount of money I'm going to miss. I mean, it's, kind of lottery ticket-ish mentality, nothing all that substantial. But if you are interested, so days 1 to 21, so until December the 1st, you will get the best rate. The 3x multiplier exists until December the 1st. So anybody that panicked last night did it for literally no reason at all, because you have until then to get that multiplier. Everybody gets the same base rate. The volume bonus up to 3x depends on your rank. So that's one thing. I mean, the bigger the sacrifice, the higher the multiplier. So if it's not going to be a huge amount of money for you anyway, I mean, that's just how it is. And then days 22 to 54, which goes out to January the 4th, the rate rises steadily each day. So it's incrementally daily at that point. And then the final phase, volume ranking, still active until January the 4th until the 9th. The volume bonus ends. There's a flat 0.75x bonus for everyone. So just flat across the board. And it's the worst rate of the entire sacrifice. And Hexo is exactly right. Tip, get in before December 2nd for the best rate and a chance at a highest multiplier up to 3x. So if you want to sacrifice for this, I'm imagining you're able to scrounge up whatever you want to before December the 1st, and that's how you would get the highest rate. So very useful information there. Yeah, what do you make of it, Ewok, in terms of like your thoughts on sacrificing for it in general, I guess?
Well, yeah, again, it is set up again, it's 21 days long instead of the 5 for the max. And I do believe, you know, it was done a little bit differently to give people a little bit more time because of this time or the period that we're in the in the whole market, in the whole cycle. You do want to give people a little bit more opportunity to at least get a paycheck. Some people only get paid once a month, some people get biweekly, whatever, and so I do believe it gives enough time for people to at least get a paycheck or two and take some money out and be able to invest some fresh capital. As far as, I remember there were months and months after the sacrifice ended, people were still putting money into those things. And they did get credit for it. They were, there was a certain point where it was said, all right, no more. But for the most part, they did get the flat bonus and got credited for it for some time after. Now, I don't see that happening this time. So I think there's going to be a hard cutoff, and it says, if you do anything after this date, you won't get anything. You're going to lose your money. So,
right.
I think this is kind of one of those timelines where, it's a longer period for a reason, gives people the chance to get some fresh capital. Again, after all of the things he said, I don't recommend selling at a loss. I like this. I think it's going to be good. I think there's going to be a lot less sell pressure when the thing launches. So, it's kind of exciting to try and scrounge a grand or two and get in it. I think that's probably all the more I'll go in with. But yeah, I like the chances of this, and people are so jaded by sacrifices. But again, for the wrong reason. It was because so many people were given so many tokens from their illiquid paper gains at that point, that it was very overinflated and over exaggerated and just so many things wrong. And I think that's why this is being done this way and at this time.
And you make a great point. We've said this, but this is the inverse of the Pulse and Pulse X sacrifice.
Yeah.
So there is reason to believe that, like, not just that it's the contrarian play. So just because of that, it'll do well. It's far less money and far less people. So the likelihood that the chart of this does better than Pulse and Pulse X out of the gate is probably pretty high.
Yeah.
I mean, and maybe that's not saying that much because Pulse and Pulse X just have sucked ass for their entire existence, basically. But there's a high probability I think that this does okay out of the gate. Now, I don't know about like the overall potential of it. I saw somebody ask that in the chat earlier. I really have no idea. Like, I don't think that this is Well, maybe it is. I mean, he made a tweet about it today. I was going to say, I don't know that this is like an RH core token. I mean, it's not even really unique to just Pulse Chain.
Right.
It's really interesting. It really is something different. So, I mean, I'm excited about it. I agree with you the more I think about it. And I think this is going to happen to a lot of people that are totally against sacrificing. The FOMO gets you. It doesn't matter. You see people talking about it everywhere. You just mentioned a DWalk. If a huge entity comes in at the end and buys a whole bunch, could that create more FOMO too? The window's about to close every single day, ticking down. Corey Cost is going to
Well,
sacrifice.
wait, before you go any further, this will be exclusive to Pulse Chain. It will be listed on Pulse Chain. I don't know that it's going to be on all networks.
Are you sure? Because
well, I mean, just because the sacrifices are coming from all networks,
right,
doesn't mean that the final token will be on all networks either.
Now, I didn't mean that. I didn't mean that. I just meant this is a product that can be used for multiple chains.
Yes,
that's what I meant. Yeah.
Yes, because it is a browser extension. So yes, you'll be able to use it, but the actual token itself will reside on Pulse Chain.
Yes. Okay. No, we agreed on that. Then that's all I meant. But,
Okay.
Where was I going to go with this next? Yeah, the fact that we could see upside with this because it's less people. Good question from DJ and Moonboy in the chat earlier. He said, like, with the Pulse and PulseX sacrifices, how long were you then waiting for the tokens? And he asked, like, 9 months. And I said, no, for 2 years. Yeah, more. I mean, for Pulse, it was almost 3. For PulseX, it was like 2.5 or something like that.
Exactly. Because it was June.
Yep.
June for Pulse, and then it was late December, early into the beginning of the year for PulseX, about 6 months later. And then, 2 Marches later did we get the product. So it was, yes, quite a long time, which leads me to my next question. And I don't know that he has put any kind of timeline out or anything. Like, how close is this product to being ready? What kind of launch? So that leads into the next thing is, and I'm sorry, I don't want to take away what you want to go to next, but he did mention about live streaming very soon.
That's where we were going next. So yeah. Okay. That's what you're going to say about it? Well, yeah. So first off, the thing that you said about when will the product come out? I mean, yeah, that's very interesting. I mean, at first I would have thought, oh yeah, I mean, who knows? We could be waiting till late next year, maybe, or something like that. Who knows? But again, somebody made a good comment the other day about him wanting to get in front of like, government AML laws and stuff like that. And maybe wanted to get, think about what happened with Pulse and PulseX when he knew the SEC stuff was down the pike. He probably released them before he wanted to. I think we've talked about that when this launched in May of 2023, that it was probably earlier than he wanted to do it because he needed to get a product to market. Maybe he will end up feeling the same with this one, but people that are sacrificing should be ready to not have something for years potentially. I mean, I think it's probably a good idea to do that. So we'll see what that time frame is. But yes, then after announcing all this news, Richard posts this. He says, if I were streaming video right now, which I am not, he says streaming video. Okay, so we're going to have to pick this apart because people have run away with what they think this says. But he says, which I'm not, and won't be till I've written some pages of text I've been putting off, maybe a day or two. What are these burning questions you have? So, of course, people will ask their questions. Do you think he means doing a live stream? Because I could see him just putting together a pre-recorded video, which I'm totally fine with. It's cool with me. Based on answering people's questions. But everybody is running with this is definitely going to be a live stream. I don't know if you have thoughts on that.
Well, I didn't think about it when he said that. If I were streaming video, I immediately assumed it would be a live stream. But now that you say that, it doesn't say if I were live streaming. And won't be until. So, yeah, I mean, streaming a video just means putting a video out. It doesn't say anything about a live stream. So, who knows? I don't know, and I honestly don't care. I think we just kind of really want to hear from him and some of his thoughts and get some things out there. He's been very interactive lately, which is good.
Mm-hmm.
He's been talking and communicating back and forth with people, and there for a while, I heard some people mention how they thought his account was hacked, and be very careful. I've heard that whole scenario too.
Proof of what?
Yeah, prove it. Like this, some weird things going on with Richard's account, and I think he's been hacked, and
Yeah.
they killed him and replaced him with somebody else or something. Like I heard that too, and all kind of funny things that now they're just trying to steal your money. So yeah, I it would be good. It'd be good to hear from him. People want to hear from him, and hopefully that there's a lot of questions out there, and there are some good ones in this thread. Um, that bring up some good points, and I'm curious to hear some of the answers. Hopefully he does get them, but he said that he needs to write some pages of text.
Mhm.
You
So
know,
that makes me think it'll be pre-recorded, kind of. But go ahead.
yeah, but Richard always has followed, a lot of the same talking points in a lot of his videos. He goes through very, very similar talking points, and I think that was my first thought is I need to get the things that I want to bring up down and on paper. The dude's a genius. He probably writes it down once and remembers it. So,
Mhm.
um, I really just think that that's what he's talking about, or what he's referring to, is the talking points. What do I want to say? What do I want to get out there? What is on a lot of people's minds that I can answer? Obviously, there won't be anything about the what he wouldn't talk about before, but you
Oh yeah.
know that type of thing. Yeah, I'm excited, but a day or two, that's pretty exciting, in my opinion.
Yeah, yeah, that's the only part that seems kind of definitive.
Yeah,
I would have kind of be expecting it to happen by latest by Friday morning,
by
I would think.
Friday, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, extremely bullish. I mean, and it is good that he is coming out with a video, because that was one of the main things when he announced all this stuff. So much news in such a short period of time. People were like, "You're not even going to like live stream about this or tell us more about it." Like, people have questions. Well, that's good of him, I think, to like realize the not necessarily need, but that it is pretty good and enforces, drives a lot of confidence to whenever you have him come out on video and talk about it a little bit. I think,
Yep.
especially when he did it so much with Hex. I mean, and Pulse Chain. People had so many questions about how things were going to work, and there's plenty of video of him out there discussing all of that. So,
Yep.
yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to it. I mean, I'm more interested in his thoughts about like the macro market right now than any of this stuff, quite frankly. I don't know if he'll go down that road or not, but yeah, I'm excited to hear from him. Did any comments or questions catch your eye in that thread, or is
Well,
it just
this first one from Tagame Rosecraft, he was a very big investor of Hex, been around for a while. At least a shark, if not a whale position.
Mhm.
Anyway, the very first question is: ProveX, not the token itself, already a finished and working product? If not, how long until market? Understandably, software is hard. The famous last words: software is hard. So,
Yeah.
yeah. But anyway, that was one of the big questions. And then you see this thing with ProveX launch underway. How will you address community doubts and rebuild trust? After major PulseX sacrificer wallets, which to date suffered heavy losses. Well, again, this is a completely different scenario.
Mm.
And I think he may talk about that. I think he might mention the fact that there were so many paper gains that were not liquid. Um, there was also that leads me to one of his other posts where he said about um, somebody wanting to buy something. Somebody had something, a million of something for sale, but they wanted to get it on the market OTC. But the person buying it probably wanted a good deal. Do you remember that post at all?
I don't know.
Reading that one,
Not really, honestly. It's been a whirlwind.
it made me think of, okay, the people that got the good deal on the Pulse and Pulse X. Um, because the market was not as liquid as what the deal that they got for doing the sacrifice was. This comment led me to believe that, to understand that, why are they not understanding the reason that the heavy losses happened was because people got way too many tokens.
Right.
You're talking billions of tokens out there floating around for people that had kind of not fake gains, but paper gains anyway. The market was not as liquid as people's wallets said they were. So
right. Yeah. I am. I'm very excited to see what he has to say. I'm sure there'll be some attitude behind it. It'll be interesting to see how he's feeling and how he's doing, what he's thinking about all this stuff. But I come out on this. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. There was nothing about this that I have felt really that negative about. And it's not because I'm a blind Richard Hart Kool-Aid drinker. The only thing I feel negative about is why Ethereum hasn't pumped and why, the macro situation isn't getting our prices higher. That's really all I care about. I mean, look, we figured there was some plan at the end of this bull market, if it ever started, where Richard would do this. Most people thought that. Was it going to be a wallet?
That's what we thought.
Yeah, exactly. The wallet. Nobody had this product really in mind, but you could conceive like there is going to be something where Richard is going to make another creation that he values, get people to put their money up and stuff like that and continue doing this. Jexa made a magnificent video. I sent you guys the other day. You may not have seen it. It's like 12 minutes long.
I watched
He made a video. Oh, you did? Okay. But kind of describing that cycle like over and over of doing things like that. So we all thought that this was coming. We just thought that it would be like, oh, wow, we're all rich. And then, instead it's the inverse. But he's a businessman. He has to make the plays that he sees. That's why I'm so interested in what he thinks of the macro situation and what he thinks is going to happen with Ethereum, because I don't think he ever thought he'd be doing this still down here price-wise. You know what I mean? So I wonder I'm just curious, like what kind of audibles that he's had to call or how he, changed the way that he's doing things to adapt to what's going on in the market. That's all.
Yep.
So
yep.
Good
Completely
stuff.
Agree. I am excited to hear his thoughts, if he gives any, on where we're at in the cycle, what he thinks is still possible. And again, he's made it clear that I don't really care about the whole market. I care about the market cycle. I care about our season. Yeah. So, he's already kind of said that, but I am anxious to hear what he thinks. He's usually pretty close. Yeah.
Well, this has been a fun stream. I'm glad we got to attack that from pretty much every angle we wanted to. Let us know, guys. Will you be, if you're watching this on the back end or in the live chat now, let us know if you are planning on sacrificing for this. Got a long way to go. I mean, if you want to get the top multiplier, we've got about 3 weeks still left, 2 to 3 weeks to do that. So there is still time. We'll see how this kind of all fleshes out, see what Richard has to say. But great stream, great energy in the chat. A lot of you guys here tonight. Please do subscribe to the channel if you appreciate Pulse Chain content to support Pulse Chain. We appreciate you being here. We do this every Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So DJ Moonboy, thanks for the super chat tonight. Philly, Valiant Low Key, Ren, I don't know how to say that. There's too many people to count tonight. So I appreciate all of you guys being here. We'll be here next week, same time, same channel. So for Crypto Ewok, Hex Girl, good for you. Throwing a couple hundred in. Digital Money Market. See you guys. For Crypto Ewok, this has been Big Boy Crypto on the Creed of Crypto. See you guys.
See ya.